And we are back. It's your man Odell, aka Artbyodell. We are joined by my special guest. Let me just give him a brief introduction. Okay, he is an author, speaker, entrepreneur, a man who basically, while he was working his job at Cheesecake Factory, was quietly building his clothing brand to the point where he was able to walk away from that and start to speak and do things on a business level, building that clothing brand to the point where his speaking engagements are working with different people like Eric Thomas, but also doing TED Talks. But what I really like as well is going into schools, working with kids, really encouraging them, but also going to businesses and challenging them and encouraging people like that as well. So I'm just very pleased to have this brother. He also has a big event coming up, a real social proof event. So I'm definitely excited to talk about that. We have David Shands in the house. How are you?
I'm well. How are you? Do you got the claps on the joint? Or do they see the clap? No, it's all good. I don't need them. It's all good. Man. How you feeling?
I'm doing good, man. We were just talking. It's funny because Alabama A&M, I attended there. You attended there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, I was watching, you have your Sleepless Nights podcast. And you were talking about DJ Infamous, who is a well-known DJ here in Atlanta.
Yeah, absolutely.
You packed up everything and in your car and you drove to Atlanta. And what were you thinking about as far as like what was going to happen? I mean, was it more of just hope and this reckless young fear, or just like really guided direction?
So you talking about when I left college?
Yeah, left college. Yeah.
I left college. You know what? I was about to try to come up with a real cool story, but I just wasn't passing my classes. So,
and for the record, I didn't graduate from A&M as well. So let's just be completely honest about it.
And my mom lived in Georgia, so I came back home. Like it was. School didn't work for me, and here's why though, because school never really worked for me. I mean, in high school, I like barely got by in high school, but my mom forced me to go. You know what I mean? Which she's right for forcing me to go, because
right.
When the school called, for one, that was Alabama A&M was the only school I applied for. They happened to be in the office one day, and my man was like, "Yo, you going to college?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't got no money. I don't got the grades. I'm sure." Right. And he was like, "Yo, just fill out the application." I'm like, "All right, bet." So I filled out the application, and they called the house, and my mom said, "Hey, you got accepted to go to college."
Yeah, right.
I said, "I don't really want to go," but she said, "You got to go," and I said, "Why?" And she said, "Cause."
That's the thing. That
was the whole answer. Cause
that's the thing.
But I think what she meant to say was I didn't have a plan already. It wasn't like I was like, "Yo,
you couldn't refute it with something."
Yeah, I don't want to go to college because I'm about to start this business. Look, I worked out this whole business plan. I got my friends on. This is my dream. I'm about to chase my dream. And I'm sure if I said that, my mom would have been like, "Oh, cool, okay,
right.
You know, I support you." But she's like, "Okay, what you gonna do if you don't go to college?"
You just gonna sit around here?
And I'm like, I ain't figured it out yet. She said, "Great. Well, I figured it out yet." You know what I'm saying? I figured it out for you.
Yeah.
And she forced me to go to college. So
wow.
Yeah, but that's never a good situation. If anybody's out there and you're like forcing your child to go to college,
yeah,
it's never really a good idea now, especially because, one, for the stuff it will teach you, obviously, independence, nobody's over your shoulder.
Yeah.
You'll meet lifelong friends from all across the world.
Still got some now, yeah.
But nowadays, it's not necessarily the best way to start your professional life.
Right. I mean, that was a template that they were running off of. Same thing, my parents, my dad. You know, he was like one of the first people to go to college. Yeah. My mom, she came from a line of educators. So that was not even a question, right? And so it's funny, I had a similar story because I came out and I wanted to go to art school. I wanted to go to art school, just 2 years, be done with it, this and that. My mom was like, "Oh, that's great. Did you apply for other schools?" So similar, I was like, "Yeah, I applied for A&M and a couple other things." "Oh, okay." And that A&M came back, and we're taking a trip up to Normal, up to Huntsville. Yeah. And I was like, "It looks like I'm getting enrolled."
Right. Oh, for sure.
I'm like, it was the same thing. It was like, but also, just like you said, because when I look back on it, right, because at first I was a little frustrated. I said, I should have went to this art school. But I really didn't detail what I was going to do with the art degree, how I was going to do it, what art school, what made sense. All my parents saw was like, you just want to go to some art school and mess around. You know, I didn't have a plan. So it's funny you say that now. This makes me revelation because I was saying the same thing. I didn't have a game plan. I didn't have nothing concrete to refute it.
Yeah, especially if there's a student trying to make a decision, you know, what school you want to go to, or if you don't want to go to school, at least come up with a good plan, because any good parent is going to force you to do something. You know what I mean? So that's why I go to the schools and teach kids. We got to come up with a plan and not just go to college just because that's the next step.
Right, you know right.
You should go to college if that's the next step in your plan. Like if you want to be a doctor, yes, you should go to college, right? But you got to first decide you're going to be a doctor, and then it takes the headache out of what school to go to, because you're going to pick the best school
that has a medical program that has
to be there,
the one
right?
that you want to.
But we just shooting blind. Like, I'm just going to go to college and let me just pick one. When I went on campus, this one felt good, so I think I'm going to go here. But that's not what it's for. You know what I mean?
Man, and it was a similar experience. Although I will say this, it's funny, when I got to A&M, Dr. Pearson, who was over the art department there, he did like embrace me and everything. So I was like, oh, okay. You know, so I did feel more at home. But at the same time, I really didn't have anything to compete that with. You know what I'm saying? So, of course, he made me feel good and this and that. But like you said, I don't know if it was the best art program or whatnot. So, man, but that, you know, I was watching something, you know, that you did as far as you were talking with, I think recently, got Desi Banks. Or, yeah. And he was talking about trying not to go viral.
You watch all my podcasts, huh?
Hey, man, I check
my man watch every episode. That's what's up.
Hey, I check it out, man. But he was talking about trying not to go viral. And it's similar because you talked about the consistency. And that's something that, I mean, you need in anything, right? Because like you said, going back to, you can't even be consistent. You don't even know what the plan is, right? So we're talking about being consistent. And I think he said something about how, like, you know, not worrying about it going viral, just keep doing the work and then it's going to show. Yeah. With so many things that people are trying to do, whether it's a podcast, a show, a business, can you talk about how, like, you're going to run into those things where you just do something and it's just, you know, it might not get all these views, it might not go viral, but that laying that brick and keep going to get to that future plan? Because I think that's when most of the magic stops. Yeah. Is that they're like, okay, wait a minute, I did this, 10 views, bye.
Right. Yeah, now that's a really good point. And you really got to be addicted to the work and not the reward, because you can't control the reward. You can't control when somebody buys your product. You can't force somebody to dig in their pocket, give you the money, right? But you can control how many people you try to sell to. So some people might say, well, my goal is to sell 3 shirts. Well, you can't control 3 people buying your shirt. No. But if your goal is to approach 20 people, chances are you'll make those 3 sales. But it's not like heartbreaking when the 3 people don't buy, because that wasn't your goal anyway. Your goal was to do the activity.
Right.
So that's what I teach in my coaching program. It's just the activity. So even with like this social proof conference that I'm doing, it's not necessarily the reward of, yo, I can make some money, or I'm going to be able to say our conference had 1,000 people. I'm into the work. I'm trying to understand how we can get 1,000 people in one space, because if we can do that, we can put 3,000. If we can do 3,000, we can do 10,000. If we can put 10,000 people in a venue, we can build a community. But I'm focused on the work, the attempts, online and offline marketing. Right. I'm learning so much through the process. Yeah. You know what I mean? So not only am I learning it, I can put it into practice. And once I put it into practice, I can teach it.
Right.
So I'm just building content for teaching these students next year. Yo, I put on this conference. You can too. You can get the local high schools from around the city in one place. This is how you do it. Right. I'm not telling you based off an idea. I'm telling you based off what I did.
Off of some work.
Yeah.
Well, and that's funny too, because falling in love with the work, because we see so many people now, sometimes they think something is easy, right? They think whether it's a podcast, whether it's something like that, so they're just jumping in. And you're right, there is no value in it. I was recently talking with Brandon Peters, journalist and whatnot, and he was just talking the same thing. He said that, because I was asking him about, like, you know, you wrote for Playboy and XXL and Slam magazine and all these high-end magazines, and he was just like, you know, I'm more concerned with somebody that said that they read my story for one, because a lot of people might see that it's in a byline of this great magazine, so they're just like, oh yeah, my man Brandon wrote this in this thing. He said, but no, when somebody hits me up and they're like, man, that story you did, like he just did a story on mental illness in like basketball. They have a program. He's like, man, that's where the reward comes. He said, I write a good piece. That's the thing. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, but like, is it a thing where, because some people will say like, they'll dibble and dabble and stuff, right? So they'll say, well, I
like how you holding your joint. It's cool. You feel me? I feel like a square a little bit. Like, like how do people do? How do people
sometimes
normally
the handheld is a different thing for some people, man.
Because he like, whatever's comfortable. I don't look corny a little. I don't look corny a little bit. I'm sorry.
Nah. The thing is, man, it's a comfortableness right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like cigar swag. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Serious. But just going into, you talked about your coaching and talk about the things you do. We talk about the mentor and stuff, and you were just talking with Desi about that mentoring and coaching. Is there an element though also of, because a lot of people don't really talk about this, of a person being coachable? Because I think on that G. Bride episode, he said something about having this awakening, where now I'm open to these things and stuff like that. I think sometimes people just get so fascinated with wanting to find a coach or a mentor, but make sure, is your mind stay coachable? Are you ready to be coached? Are you ready to be somebody to tell some brutal truths?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people are, when they join these coaching programs or they're looking for a coach, they're not necessarily looking for a coach. They're looking for validation. They want somebody else who has accomplished something to say, you're on the right track. Oh, that was a brilliant idea. You got it. Oh, man. And they want that feel good.
Right.
But you really have to. And here's the thing. That's not bad for all people, because some people just need a little validation. And they can say, oh, well, somebody else believe in me. I'm going for it.
Okay.
I'll just go out there. I'll bump my head 1,000,000 times if somebody just believes in me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think it's room for people who just want validation, but some people really want to learn and grow. You know what I mean? So yeah, being coachable is vital. I hate giving somebody advice and they don't use it, which is why I started charging for coaching. You got to pay something, because I'm not going to waste my breath and you still don't. I was telling somebody this earlier. So before I started like really doing coaching, like when I first was able to leave the Cheesecake Factory and I had my own business, had the kiosk in the mall. Oh yeah. People would come and ask, like, yo, how did you, can I pick your brain? Can I pick your brain? I'm like, all right.
Famous lines right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, sure, no problem, because I'm not used to people asking me for advice.
Right.
But we get together and they come by and I give them everything I got. I answer all their questions. Clearly, give them some steps, some homework, right?
Oh yeah,
because I'm just doing it for the love.
Yeah.
But they walk away with a lot of information. But then my schedule just got too busy, and I'm like, yo, you got to at least take me to lunch.
Yes.
Like at least. But what happened was, when people had to make that commitment, they would bring a notebook. When they just wanted information, they come ask questions.
Right.
Nah, that's good. Okay, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
But when you gotta pay something, they're like, oh, I don't want to lose it. I want to take notes.
So put some skin in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's one of my keys, man. You'll never find me without a notebook. I got a notebook.
Yeah. You talk about that, like with the notebook and just documenting and writing. Is it more of like a thing where writing it down makes it real, or just like you said, just that repetitiveness of just
never trust your memory? How many ideas? What's your name, man? Jay Black. How many ideas have you had somewhere? They just in your head. You're like, yo, I'm gonna do that. The next day, you like, yo, I was gonna do something.
What was that,
bro? I done lost $1 million ideas. Spur of the moment.
That's true.
But if you look through my even my phone, because if I'm not in a place where I have my notebook,
right,
I'll
you gotta
show
go through your phone.
Bruh, yeah, like
never trust your memory. That's
never trust your memory. It's too expensive, and your memory will fail you, bro. I got note after note note after note.
Wow,
and that's like one notebook. This is another one. I got note after note. I got two. I could sell this phone. I think the value of this phone, $500,000 easy.
Oh my goodness!
I got some $1 million businesses in here. You know what I mean? So just take notes. You don't want to lose it, man. I hate talking to people that just don't take notes or don't record it or nothing. Like,
yeah, I mean, like you said, and that's the thing about it too, because I'm just happy that he's here with me tonight because time is valuable. You can't get it back. And when someone just wants to talk to you, and then like you said, you pour that emphasis into it. I mean, I hear people all the time. I have people that like, talk about a podcast and starting and stuff like that. And you sit there, you go through all these things, and like you say, you get all rah-rah, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna check back with you next week and stuff. Like, yeah, man. And I always end it. I always say, well, you should just go home tonight and just put your laptop up and just start recording, right? Like, forget the studio, forget all that stuff. Let's get recording. Here you go. Let me know this is that. And then, like you said, 2 weeks later, and this is like, what's up, O?
Right.
What's going on? You don't remember what we talked about? And like you said, because you're like, wait a minute, why did I take more stock in telling you something?
Yeah, but that's why I always bring my camera, because even if I think you're going to do great things with this podcast, but even if you don't, I got some content that I can repurpose, right? I always bring my own, because I might say something that I need to remember later, and I ain't got my notebook. Or you might say something like, it'd be inappropriate to take my phone down and be like, hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
I got to take it. So, yeah, man.
Always creating good content, but it's funny, too, what you said about how sometimes people just want validation.
Oh, for sure.
Because I remember I'll put myself example, my good friend, DV1, he's a DJ out in Seattle. He's in Hawaii now, but he used to be the official DJ for the Seahawks. Mm-hmm. And just, I seen him go from just working his government job to being an entrepreneur and everything like that. And I go out there, he always shows me love. And I remember being out there with him and everything. I was like, man, I was just like, yo, DV1, man, he's like, what? He's like, you want me to tell you can do it or something? Yeah. He's like, do you want, like, dude, you're a smart dude.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to sit here and just sit there and pat your back. Like, no, you just need to get on your ass, get to work, and start doing some stuff.
And I think we all want that too. Like, you ever be in an argument, I don't know if you're married or, you'll argue with your girl.
Right,
and then you call your boy, not really looking for advice, but for what you want him to say. Like, yo,
you
bro,
right.
She's a nut.
Yeah,
it's
all her. It's all her.
Absolutely.
It's
you be wanting that.
It's all her.
And let him oppose you like, yo, nah, you wrong. You're like, what? Yo, let me call you back. I need to find some more validation real quick. I've been guilty.
Right.
So.
Exactly. You want to be hearing exactly what you want to hear rather than just because like I said, I was not expecting that as well. Yeah. I thought he was going to, like you said, just pull out this thing and just okay, here's what's going to happen, Odell. This is how you're going to do it. And he was just like, nah, bruh, like I think you just wanted me to hear you tell you that you need to go for something.
But understanding that's like human psychology, you have to sell people what they want and give them what they need. So people will buy what they want. They're not necessarily going to buy what they need. Like,
right.
Like they need like a carrot and celery, but they're going to buy Patron and lime. You feel me? Like
right.
You have to somehow mix the vitamins into the vegetables for the kids. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes in communicating with any business or project,
right,
I know that's what they need. I know like the podcast is what people need, and you're trying to ram down their throat what they need.
Right.
And sometimes you have to just give them what they want. Where we're talking about relationships. Okay, women, we're going to talk about relationships because in their head, we're going to get a chance to vent and talk about relationships.
right.
A man's perspective. This is what you all need to hear.
Right.
Mixed into the vegetables. You know what I mean? So that's how I approach business.
That's so true, too, because I do things in the health and wellness space, and I get the question all the time, like the main two questions. Like, hey, man, I want something that's going to give me energy. And I'm just like, you do realize I can't just give you energy,
right.
But at the same time, I already say I want something that's going to make my metabolism quicker. You just want an easy way to lose weight, right? And so, like you said, I could easily go down this road of this thing, but I'm like, at the end of the day, I still need to get something started,
right? So
they can get started. So I'm like, well, hey, you could take this supplement, but also, you thought about this increasing that water intake, man, and hitting them push-ups. But like I said, it's that one thing to get them down that road.
Yeah.
Because like you said, if I just sit there and just go around all this whole thing where, no, you can't just get energy, this and that, the guy's going to be like, okay, I need to talk to somebody else.
Right.
This person, find that balance of being able to give them something to be able to come back for more.
That's why that keto diet is so dope. You familiar with the
keto diet? Ketosis,
dope.
Yeah.
You can eat mad stuff. It's mad stuff you can eat that you want. Just don't eat the bread and the shit.
Right.
But you can have this over here. You want this?
You can have that.
Go on in running. Yeah, come on. You can get this keto.
You're right.
Yes, I mean, it's a dope. My mom on it. She losing weight.
Hey, the
So,
ketosis,
shouts out
man.
to my mom.
Well, listen, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to really dive into, we mentioned the event coming up, Real Social Proof, but we're going to dive into that a little further,
do it.
talk about some of the speakers and some of the things. And it's also just having the audacity to say, I'm going to put it on. Because a lot of people, like you said, they have things where they just don't have the audacity or just the gumption to even try something.
Yeah, absolutely.
They'd rather just sit on the sidelines and watch somebody else shoot the ball instead of just getting the game. And you might only score 2 points, but that's 2 more than nothing.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So taking a quick break, Odell for Odell's Roundtable with David Shands. Be right back.